Okay, so we have completed our cuff, completed some of the leg, or the leg of our sock for this particular sock. We've completed the heel flap, which goes down the back of the foot, and the nice shaped, we've turned and shaped the heel, which sits under the heel of the foot, and the sole of our foot will go along here. So what we've now got to do is quite a lot actually. We've got to establish going back in rounds and sort out knitting the rest of this foot. I'm going to show you on a sock I've made. Here's one I've made earlier, a different sock, but a little shorty sock. You can see the same setup. Okay, it's a lot shorter, but here is the leg of the sock. It's got a roll cuff here. Here's the flap of the sock. Here's the turned heel. And what you can see is we've got two lots of knitting sort of going in two different directions. We've got this straight knitting coming across here, and it joins onto this knitting here. So what this section is called the gusset, and this is called the foot. And we're now going to work on creating the gusset and the foot and re-establishing our lovely stripy pattern. It sounds terrifying. It isn't. We're going to be fine. So let's get on with that. Okay, we're going to start with the right side facing. I'm still on this DPN, but don't worry, I'm going to bring the little circular needle back into play now and get the stitches back onto that. So to start with, I'm going to knit half of these stitches, and we're going to place a marker which will denote the beginning of the round. Okay, and two more. So that marker that I'll put in here, I'll do a green one this time, as green for go, beginning of the round. That marker, if you can see, sort of sits directly where the old one, whoops, sorry, I've hit the camera, where the old one was. So I'm going to carry on knitting across these heel stitches, which is there. Right, so I've knit across all of the heel stitches now. My DPN is finished with. And we've got our start and end of the round marker there. We've also got a great big gap in this side, don't worry about that, and a great big gap here, but we're going to take care of that now. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick up some stitches along the edge of this heel flap. If I just show you my sample sock, we're actually picking up these stitches along the edge of the heel flap here. So they're actually in this sort of orientation, along this heel flap here. Okay, this is what we're about to pick up. And in your pattern, it will tell you how many you need to pick up for the size that you are working. I'm going to pick up 15. And what I like to do is use a DPN or another needle. And I'm going to get to the end stitch. Can you see? Just so you can see that one really clearly, but the end stitches of my rows, where's that first one? I'll go in there, and I like to pick up, this gives quite a good finish, I like to pick up the back loop of the stitch and then knit into the back of it, puts a little twist in it and gives a nice sort of sharp edge, what do I mean, a neat edge. Nice neat edge. Right, that's number one. I've got to stop talking now because I've got to count as I go. Let's try that one. So pick up the back loop, knit into the back of it. That's 2. And along I go. Okay, I've done 7 now, and you can barely see where that's been picked up. Got a bit of a hole there, but I'll take care of that later. So I think that doing the little twist put the twist in the stitch by knitting in the back loop probably works quite well. Right, 3 more. Okay. Can't quite get that last one in. There we go. Right, so that's 15. Okay, and you can see I've picked up all along the edge of that lovely heel flap there. Okay, Right, before I move on, I'm going to place another marker, and what this is going to tell me, I'll put a red one in here. At this point, let me just stop and tell you about markers. I've just got some little plastic rings here, but you can make, I don't know what we're having in the box, but if you need lots of markers on a project and you haven't got lots of markers, make them with little knots of coloured yarn. That's all you need to do. You don't need to spend a load of money on them. Most of us have got spares, haven't we? But in case you need loads and loads, I've done a shawl where there's loads of repeats of the lace, and I like to put markers at each end of each repeat just so I know where I go wrong. And so if you need sort of 20-25 of them like I did, you can just make them with little pieces of cotton or yarn. Sorry, that's a little tip. Okay, so I'm putting this red marker at the end here because when we work around, we're going to do some decreases. Okay, we're going to do some decreases. Let me show you the sample one again. If you look, we've picked up along this edge, and you can see this line coming inward, and that's the decreasing. That's where the decreasing is going to happen, and that's going to be marked by that little stitch marker. So I've put a stitch marker in there, and I'm just going to knit all, whoops, I've gone in too much there. I'm going to knit all of the rest of the stitches now. These little stitches have not been worked at all since we started working the heel flap. Just keep those first 2 stitches after the stitch marker nice and tight, and that is where your heel will join the foot of your sock. Okay, and work all the way around. Okay, coming up to the end of those unworked stitches now, and what I'm going to do when I get to the end of these as well is put on another stitch marker, and again this is going to show me where I've got to do my decrease stitches on this side of the foot. And I had pulled another red one, here it is, and I've popped that on there so I know when I'm working round on my rounds, I will know that when I hit these markers I've got to do some decreases. Right, so I'm back now on the other side of the heel flap, and we're going to do exactly the same thing, which is to pick up and knit 15 stitches. Exactly the same, like I said, except going in the other direction, so going sort of from the foot opening or the top of the foot opening to underneath. So I'm going to do the same thing as before, use my DPN, go into the sorry, I'm just randomly coming off the screen there, go into a stitch, pick it up and knit into the back of it. That seems to give me the best. There is going to be a little hole there, but I'm going to try and close that a little bit, but you can always pop a little stitch in there, which I actually think is the most, I'm sure it's like what's the word, not good technical practice, but I just think it's sort of secure and does the job, so why wouldn't you? Right, 1:15 again for me. Like I said, do make sure you check your numbers, don't look at like my numbers really, just look at the technique. So I'm just lifting that stitch and knitting into the back of it with a little twist. Okay, and I'm going to do that 15 times. Okay, this is the last stitch I'm picking up. Okay, and if you now look, let me just move my DPN out of the way. If you look now, actually no, let me just knit these last few stitches towards that marker. That will be a nice visual then. Let me just show you what's going on here. If you can see now there's stitches picked up all the way along there. I'll get to this marker, and we know what this marker in the middle means. This is the beginning of our round, isn't it? So if I just do that, I'll stop there so that we don't lose our marker. If I stop there and you look at the view of the sock this way up, you will see the beginning of our round and our decreases are marked. All right, and when we look this way on, you will see that our sock is now completely joined in the round, and we're ready to start making the foot once we've done some decreases to sort of close that down. This is the widest point of your sock, and it needs to be the widest point because it has to go all the way from under your foot right to the top of your ankle, and that's the kind of the widest point of your foot, so it needs to be that many stitches. So I've knit to the beginning of the round, and we're almost there in terms of the tricky part. Just check your stitch count, and what we're now going to do is work our first decrease round. That's where these little markers come into play. So I will show you the decrease round next.